Today is my first ever film swap, and we're doing it with the old camera guy. I'm James Fisher, and this is Vintage Insight Photography. What is a film swap? If you've never participated in one, it is simply where one photographer takes a roll of film, shoots it through the camera, rewinds it back into the canister, sends it to a second photographer who then loads that film into their camera and shoots that same roll of film, creating a series of double exposures. You have no idea what's going to come out of this. You have no idea what they're going to look like. And that's actually what makes it a lot of fun. Well, I reached out to the old camera guy down in Ohio, and he said he'd be interested in doing a film swap with me. I was thrilled. We both have near us a city called Marysville. For me, it's Marysville, Michigan, and for the old camera guy, it's Marysville, Ohio. We decided that I would furnish the film, I would shoot the initial sequence of exposures, pack the film up, send it to him. He would then develop the roll, scan it, and we would see what we came up with. The old camera guy did leave the film choice up to me, and I've chosen to use this Portra 160 VC, or Vivid Color. I picked this up a few months ago at an estate sale. Now this is expired. It did expire in October 2005, but judging on the other photographic equipment that was there at this estate sale, it was a bunch of Hasselblad equipment. I know that this film was kept very good. I've also used one roll of this film already, and I used that for the Redscale photography. I'll put a link to that video right up here. That's actually where you run roll of film upside down or backwards through your camera. You actually have to take the film completely out of the canister, cut it, flip it over, and then wind it back in the canister. So you're shooting through the base side of the film, not onto the emulsion side of the film, and that causes some very unique colors and artifacts in the exposures. On my side, I'm going to use the Olympus OM-1, one of my favorite cameras of all time. The OM-1 is a very special camera to me. This was the first 35mm camera that I truly, really used. When I was a young lad, this would have been in probably the mid-1970s. I had a great interest in photography. My dad purchased me a medium format camera. Somebody had a used one for sale, a Calamar 660. And in fact, I've taken that out on an adventure, and I'll link that video right here as well. He then decided, because he was going to be taking a trip to Alaska and some other things were coming up, some other events, he and I went to a camera store, actually Norman Camera in Battle Creek, Michigan, and decided on the Olympus OM system. And we purchased an OM-1. That camera is long since gone. I was so thrilled to find the Olympus OM-1 in great shape at an estate sale. I absolutely had to nab this. But let's get film loaded into this Olympus OM-1. Simply, we pull up on the film take-up spool wind lever and then open the camera up. So then it's all set for us right there. And we take the film out of the canister. It simply drops in right here. This drops down, locks in. We're going to pull the film through, and then it goes into these slots that are right here. Then I'm going to push the film into this take-up right here. And the Olympus system is a counterwind system, so it winds the film backwards. So it winds it against how it's been rolled in the spool. So we are going to start winding the film, and we're going to wind it till both levers are fully engaged, and we're ready to start and fire our first exposure. I'm going to turn the take-up spool a little bit to take up some of that slack, make sure everything is good and tight, and then I'm going to mark where this film starts and ends with this Sharpie marker. I can feel the shutter right there, the window right there, and it is right here on this side. I'm going to draw an arrow to show up on that film, and I'm going to say, hi, old cameras with a C, isn't it, not a G, guy. That's pretty funny, misspelled right there. And I can't take it off because it's permanent. So we're set. We're going to close the lever, and then we're going to fire off 3 exposures to bring us to number 1 on our counter. There's 1. And a little tip, if you've not shot much 35mm, if you notice this take-up lever winds, that means the film is coming out of that canister. 2 and 3. And that brings us to frame number 1 on our camera. Now it's time to hit the road and go to Marysville to do the first set of exposures for this film swap with the old camera guy. Let's go. It's kind of appropriate. A train just went by in the tracks over there. In fact, I might be able to pick it up on... It's a little appropriate. A train just went by on the tracks over here as we're in the park in Marysville with the Detroit Edison 203. I am trying a new vlogging setup today, and that is this little tripod that I got. I've been carrying with me that small Tech Elks, kind of a bendy tripod that I use, but it doesn't raise up at all. So I was looking for something incredibly light and very inexpensive. And I did find this tripod that I've got the camera set up on right now. It's the UB Size CT50. I've really enjoyed it so far. It is an incredibly lightweight tripod. It is designed for smartphones. It's really too light to use any kind of a DSLR or anything on it. In fact, I think it'd probably break if you did that. This thing weighs in at just a few grams. In fact, I'll weigh it and I'll put the grams that it weighs or the ounces that it weighs right on the screen right here below. Very, very small, comes with a little case, very portable. So far, so good. I've enjoyed it so far. Marysville, Michigan is right along the St. Clair River, so south of Port Huron. And we have a number of freighters that go by, and fortunately we've got one going by right now. And that's something that I don't think Marysville, Ohio has much of. Across the river is what we call Chemical Valley, and that's gas refineries over in Canada. The old camera guy is known for his photographs of old and abandoned buildings, gas stations. I'm trying to think of imagery that'll complement that and go along with that. He also does some photographs, portraits of his wife and his son, so who knows what's actually going to be on his roll of film. This is actually an entrance gate to an abandoned power plant. This used to be a large coal-fired power plant here that was imploded and blown up down in this way. There's been talk about a possible condo development or who knows what here, but this is a great, great building. Look at that, slate roof, copper flashings, really nice. We're back in the studio now. We have totally finished shooting our first set of exposures on this roll of Portra 160 to send to the old camera guy. Let's rewind this back into the canister. Coffee. With the OM-1, rewinding the film back into the canister is extremely easy. There's this lever right here marked with an R. We just turn this lever to the R. That releases all the mechanism, and now we can crank that film back into the canister. We're going to do this very carefully, trying to make sure we don't suck the film all the way back into the canister. We want to feel that film release off the take-up spool. We're almost there. You can feel the tension building. Right there. Did you hear that? That's it. So now I'm going to pop this up. That'll open up the back of the camera right there. And there is our film ready for the old camera guy with my misspelling even right there. So I'm going to wind this back in the canister a little bit more. We're going to put it into this empty film canister, the one we took it out of. Open this up, drop it right in. And we're going to send it to him right here. I've addressed it to go directly to the old camera guy in Ohio. In here, we're going to drop this roll of half-exposed film. I'm going to send him a gift of another roll of 35mm Portra 160 VC, just because he's such a nice guy doing this with me. And he doesn't know about this yet. Well, he doesn't know about any of this. I'm sending him a roll of Ilford HP5 black and white film for him to do the same thing. He will pick a subject, photograph this for a film swap to come back, and specifically black and white, because I can't develop color film in my laundry room. And then as a further gift, because he is the old camera guy and he's got that old Pentax camera, this is a camera strap that I picked up at an estate sale, and I think this would be a very fitting strap for that Pentax 6x7 he has. That will go in the envelope as well. We're going to seal this up just like that and throw this in the mailbox to be delivered to him. Now we're going to see the results of the photographs that we had. The Tale of Two Cities, Marysville, Michigan, and Marysville, Ohio. my first ever film swap, and with the old camera guy. When I opened up the file that he had shared and I saw that first photo with the sign that said drive slow and the photograph I took of the pier, and of course I've titled that Slow Drive Off a Short Pier. And that sign theme continued through more photographs. I couldn't believe it. There was a series of 3 photos in a row where Dave had taken a shot of the one sign that said road closed, then I took a photograph of the sign that said one way, and then he took the photograph of the sign that said detour. We had no way of planning this out, but 3 sign photographs, 2 by him and 1 by me, right in a row. And then the photographs of the freighters. What powerful machinery. And the first one were Dave's photograph of the electric pole with the transformers superimposed over the top of this freighter and its power of going down the St. Clair River. And the second photo of the train tracks leading right up into that freighter. What a juxtaposition of different types of transportation and of carrying freight goods. And then of course in the background across the river are the oil refineries. And you couldn't have planned this better, to have a vintage car superimposed with these oil refineries. And one of my favorite photographs in this entire set, I title this Train Tracks and Setbacks, where you have the statue just holding his head and that sign we're all so familiar with where we have to stop for the train crossing. And the photograph I took with the condos all in a row, and Dave with his photograph of that electric meter. What a fitting juxtaposition of images that is. And I especially like this photograph as well, the barbed wire and the door that says entrance, access denied. And finally, the 2 photographs that I took at that abandoned check station for the power plant that was imploded. One with a cannon and the other with a sign that said wrong way. Originally, when I reached out to the old camera guy, I had proposed a theme of A Tale of Two Cities, Marysville, Michigan and Marysville, Ohio. But I think this film chose an entirely different theme for us. And that theme is power and energy. If you remember early on in this video, I sent an additional roll of black and white film for the old camera guy to expose and send back to me, and we would do a black and white film swap. And sure enough, he sent that back. But not only did he send that one film back, which is right here, but he also sent a gift package for me. And that is a roll of Fuji Acros film. Oh my, we're gonna have fun with this. A roll of Fomapan, one of my favorite inexpensive films. A roll of 120 Tri-X Pan film. We'll have to figure out something to do with this. I'm not quite sure which camera we're going to use this on, but that'll happen in a future thing. A button with a camera, and something that I think is going to be a lot of fun. And this is a roll of Kodak 5222 black and white film. And this is more commonly known as Kodak XX. This is actually a black and white motion picture film that's been used in numerous movies, including Schindler's List and The Lighthouse. It's just a classic film designed for motion picture, not necessarily still, so it has a different look. This is actually a film I've wanted to try for a long time. Don't go away, the video's not over yet because Dave's video is linked right here for you to enjoy, and the black and white ones, when they're posted, are going to be right here, our black and white film swap. I am James Fisher, enjoying a cup of coffee. This is Vintage Insight Photography, and thanks for being here on this journey.